More on the topic of energy. Our next guest has been calling for a timeout on natural gas exports. In a recent op-ed piece in USA Today, Congressman Ed Markey of Massachusetts, along with his colleague in the Senate, Ron Wyden of Oregon, said that energy is needed here at home and that exporting it could cause prices to skyrocket from these very low prices we're seeing here lately.
Well, indeed, and he's here himself. Congressman Markey joins us exclusively to talk about the economic consequences of exporting energy. Congressman, great to have you on our show. Explain in your own words why you think we need to keep natural gas here.
Well, natural gas is a domestic market, whereas oil is part of an international market. So, for example, right now, natural gas in the United States is approximately 6 times less expensive than natural gas in Asia. It is 4 times less expensive than natural gas in Europe. Well, what does that translate into? Well, if you're thinking about manufacturing a product after the workforce, energy is the most important component part. And we have a huge advantage over Europe and Asia because of our low price natural gas. Secondly, we can begin to move natural gas into the automotive sector and back out imported oil to reduce our dependence upon imported oil from the Middle East. Why export young men and women to defend imported oil from the Middle East when we can begin to think about a natural gas automotive marketplace? Thirdly, the price for generating electricity in our country by natural gas. That as well is going to be much lower, and that helps every single industry in the United States with lower electricity costs.
Right.
And so there are many reasons why this whole issue of this incredible bonanza that we have in domestic natural gas should be examined very closely before we begin to export it.
But Congressman, we're in a capitalist society here in the United States, and the profit motive is very strong. Indeed, many corporations, that's their fiscal duty to their shareholders if they're publicly traded, is to make a profit. And Japan, for one, you mentioned the prices are much higher over there. They are desperate for natural gas right now because they're trying to replace the missed nuclear energy because of the tsunami last year. So why wouldn't a company want to sell its natural gas overseas if it can do so with a tremendous profit right now? That's the nature of the capitalist system, isn't it?
If I were in the oil and natural gas business, I would want to export it and get a higher price overseas. But the truth is that there's a reason why the price of natural gas and oil is going to appear over your shoulder about 5 times during this interview. It goes right to the heart of what fuels the economy. And the reason that price is so important is that it's pretty much driven by Middle Eastern oil producers, OPEC, a cartel, a non-market-based cartel that in fact plays games with the price of oil and plays games as a result with our economy. As a result, manufacturing, transfer over to an automotive industry that generates its energy from natural gas is something that's very difficult to get people to invest in because it is not a predictable market. It would be if we decided not to export our natural gas. And by the way, if all 15 of the export terminals that are now with applications before the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the Department of Energy says that it could increase the price of natural gas by 54% here domestically because it would result in a 28% total amount of our natural gas being exported.
That was going to be my question. How much do you think it would raise prices by? But I've got to ask you, Congressman, I mean, if the U.S. does block natural gas exports, doesn't that smack of protectionism? And then how could the U.S. complain about other countries restricting their resources, like, for example, China's export restrictions on rare earth minerals?
Well, let's have the discussion. Let's have a timeout. If we export natural gas to China, if we export oil to China, by the way, which we're doing right now, will they export rare earth minerals to the United States, which are so essential in our renewable energy sector? I think the answer is no. And until we get a yes, then what are we thinking about? Why don't we just play the game a lot tougher internationally to extract from these other countries what are essential to us, rather than just saying, well, we're going to give you the single most valuable asset in the world, and that is natural gas.
Congressman, by your estimate there, it could raise the price of natural gas by 54%. I've seen that number elsewhere as well. But let's face it, the price of natural gas is so low right now, we're hardly going to break the bank or anybody's pocketbook if it goes up by 54%. By my math, just broadly speaking, it could go all the way up to $4. So, why are we quibbling over a very incredibly historically low price for a natural resource that we can afford to have go up as we make a profit by selling it overseas?
Well, the estimate by the Department of Energy that it would go up by 54% was when there was an application for only 10 export licenses. Now there are 15 export licenses.
But even if it goes up 100%, even if we get a double of the price of natural gas, as we're looking at here, that the futures for July delivery are at $2.78. The price goes to $5, and it is still at a relatively historic low for the price of natural gas. Supply demand suggests natural gas is going to be cheap for a number of years now. Don't you agree?
Well, PricewaterhouseCoopers has estimated that if we can keep the price of natural gas low, that we can add 1 million new jobs to the United States economy. Petrochemicals, plastics, fertilizers, all of them, rather than manufacturing in other countries, would manufacture here, and we would create those jobs here. So this is a big subject for us, and we have to look at cross-sectorally. If all you do is look at the oil and gas industry rather than every other industry in America dependent upon this as a source of energy for their industries, then we would be making a big national historic mistake.
Congressman, thank you very much for coming and explaining that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.